Hi guys, how's everyone doing? Let me know that this is working and everything is all coming through. Guitar's coming through, the microphone's coming through so you can hear what I'm going on about. We've got a couple of people in the house already. Hi Bruce and hi D Katzberg. Let's have a look. So, and Scooby Staps in. Nice to have you all here. Yeah, so just let me know it's all working. And then we'll get to it. I tell you what, actually, just while I'm waiting for someone to let me know it is working, I thought what I do today is to show you how to use the EQ section on the Katana. Now, I know a lot of people would find the parametric EQ a little bit dull, but it can really help you sort of fit your guitar into a mix in a band situation and even in a recording situation. Good, yeah, everything's working. The PRS has got a setup. No, it hasn't actually. It's I'm just sort of living with it at the moment. It's just got a couple of buzzes that I just need to get sorted, but it sounds great. So it's oh yeah, I'll use this today. Yeah, so what I thought I'd do, just in case you've just turned up, is to have a look at the parametric EQ. Now, I want to go over a few things because James is in the house as well. All right, mate. Yeah, one day we'll get James on this little Friday session. So, let me switch over to the Katana screen. If I do that, great. And if I do that, you can see me as well. Okay, now, what I've done, I've set up a couple of patches that need a bit of work. Now, I'll show you what I mean. I've got this clean patch here. So with this patch, it's a little bit flubby in the bottom end. Now, say that you've EQ'd your amp and you're quite happy with the EQ, and if you start to take away some bass, it starts to lose some of the bottom end that you don't really want to lose, but you just want to get rid of some of those flubby frequencies that are really interfering with the mix or interfering with your live. You know, it's interfering with the bass player, it's interfering with keyboards, all of that sort of stuff. So you're not cutting through the mix. So, on the Katana, in the Tone Studio software, we've got this EQ right at the end, right next to the noise suppressor. We've got EQ. So let me click there. It's on a bit of a delay. Here we go. Now, with the EQ, you've got two different choices. You've got a parametric EQ and you've got a GE10. Now, I'm sure that everyone knows how to use a graphic EQ like this. It's basically all you're doing is just sort of pulling up and down these little faders here until you get the sound you want. It's a classic sort of 1980s hi-fi. Now, it's all well and good using something like a graphic EQ, but the EQ bands are set. So on this one here, we've got anything from 31 hertz up to 16 kilohertz, and we've got all those sort of frequencies in between. But just say that you want to find a frequency that's in between some of these frequencies and you want to notch out. Now, I purposely made this track, this patch, sorry, I purposely made this patch have some sort of low-mid flubbiness. So I'm going to show you how to get it out using the EQ. So let's switch on the EQ, and I'm going to switch it to the parametric EQ. Now, I've also got two other options here. We've got amp out and amp in. So amp out comes after the amp section inside the Katana, and amp in comes before the amp section. So you've got to try and work out where the problem frequencies are coming from. Now, sometimes it's good to EQ your guitar before it goes into the preamp side of the Katana, and sometimes it's good to EQ it on the output. So we're going to try both and see if we can find the best solution for this. So let's leave it amp out to start with. Now, if I go over to this software that I've got set up, now what I'm going to do here is to, whoops, let me get rid of that, and this as well, and that. So I'm going to explain how parametric EQ works. Basically, you've got your whole spectrum, your whole frequency bands. If I play some guitar, you'll see like a graphical representation of that guitar sound. Or you should do, if I turn it on. So you'll see there that it was anything from sort of 20 hertz up to about 16 kilohertz. Now, a lot of those frequencies we don't need in the guitar because it's going to interfere with the bass and the drums and the keyboards and even vocals. So the first thing we want to do, I'm going to show you how to do it on this EQ first, and then hopefully that'll explain like a graphical representation, and then we'll move it over to the Katana. So the first thing you want to do is to shelve the bottom end and the top end. So if I play a chord, and if I move this band here, you'll see we're getting rid of all the bottom end, and we can take it right up until, you know, so you won't even hear the guitar. So as a rule, if you don't know what you're doing, I think it's best to just filter off. Say you can filter off up to about 80 hertz, and you'll be absolutely fine. You'll be getting rid of all of the bottom flubby frequencies that you don't need. And if you do find your guitar a little bit bright, a little bit piercing, and you want to remove it away from, say, like a singer, you can bring that back. Let's just bring that back to about sort of 10k. You'll be absolutely fine with the guitar frequency there. You're not really going to be losing anything that you're going to be hearing through a guitar speaker. And it will also be really cleaning up your frequencies. So let's have a look at that first of all on the Katana. If I move over. So on the Katana, we've got a low cut and we've got a high cut. And at the moment, they both say flat. So if I move the low cut up, I'll play a chord again. Actually, let's just mute that EQ. And I'll move the low cut up to around that frequency. So I'm just removing those that flubby sort of bassy frequency. So I've moved it up to 100 hertz, and it's probably removed a little bit too much. So I've just brought it back to 80 hertz. Actually, do you know what? I will stick it on 100 because it has actually removed that a little bit more. No. I'm talking rubbish. Let's go back to 80. And the same with the high frequencies. So if I take that EQ out, you'll hardly hear the difference. Actually, I can hear the difference, but I'm not sure that you'll hear the difference on YouTube. But it's just really cleaned up the flubby bottom end and the top end. Now, there's a frequency in this guitar tone that is really annoying, and once it's removed, it will greatly improve the tone. So, let me go back to that other EQ here, and let's turn it back on. Now I'm going to click on a little node here, and what I can do here, I can boost and cut frequencies by using this EQ. Now what I'm going to do first of all is take the Q right up, because what I want to do is to make it like a pinpoint. That's probably a little bit too drastic. Let's bring it back. So what I'm doing there is I can boost anywhere on the spectrum band here. So let's play a chord again, and let's find that annoying frequency. So it's around there. Now at the moment I boosted it, all I've got to do is to cut that to bring it back. I can bring it back by say like 6 to 8 dB, and it'll really clear up those frequencies. Bring it up just a little bit. So we've still got all the bottom end and the top end in the frequency, but we've just removed that annoying frequency. Now that's going to sit a lot better in a mix. But let me just mute that EQ for the moment. And let's go back to the Katana. Now, I can do the same on the Katana. If I boost the Q, which is how pointy you want the EQ, let's take it up to 16. And I'm going to bring the gain up on that particular frequency and then sweep around and, until I find that annoying frequency. So let's bring it up to about 13 dB. And now I'm going to move this frequency here back until I find that frequency. So I think around 315 hertz is where that problem frequency is. Let's bring it back. It's about 5 dB. Right. So that's really fixed stuff, but there's still some annoying sort of flubbiness in the guitar sound. So instead of amp out, let's try amp in. So there's the guitar frequencies all fixed. Right now, if I play so now if I play a chord and take it out, you hear the difference. So hopefully that's explained how to use parametric EQ. If you've got some annoying sort of high frequencies, you can do exactly the same up here around the sort of top end. Let's go back to. Let me switch back to me there, and let's go back to questions. Oh wow, so we've got loads of questions in. Okay. Scooby Sap says hi from Colorado. D Katzberg. Oh yeah, we've done those, haven't we? So good, all fine. Evening, gents. Sorry I missed Wednesday, but it was SWMNO's birthday. SWM. I don't know who SWMNO is, but let me know, Keith. Okay, everyone. Okay, people are just saying it's all sounding good. Greetings from the god-awful South Dakota. Looking forward to an EQ lesson. What's so awful about South Dakota? T Jackson, hello mate. James says, because James's location recording says, sorry, just got in from setting up. Oh yeah. Scooby Stap says the parametric with the Q adjustment and gain to rid the annoying frequency is confusing. Don't really understand it. Okay, hopefully that's explained it. K Michael P, howdy. Ron Siegel, what guitar is he playing? I'm playing it's a PRS Silver Sky. Really good guitar actually. Really light and pickups, and then yeah, everything sounds great on this. Really pleased with it actually. D Katzberg says PRS SSS Strat. Not sure about the exact model. It's a Silver Sky. It's a John Mayer model. Ah, okay, yeah. James has said it's a Silver Sky. Okay, Ron Siegel. Thanks, people. Annoying frequency in this case, mud. Yes, mud. So, James said mud. So, us sort of mixers and producers, we sort of, it's called the misery range. And the misery range is anything from, say, about 200 hertz to about 350. You've got those annoying frequencies in there that if you start to clean out just little bits on every track, find the annoying points, the annoying frequencies, and just dip them slightly, your whole mix just completely opens up. And it really works on guitar sounds as well, especially in a live situation. Mud honk, yes. Scooby Step says more the harsh ice pick frequencies it cuts. So yeah, so Scooby, so what I did with the low frequencies, just take that up to the top end on the, let me just show you again, cut here. Okay, so around here, the high mid gain, you can do exactly the same thing. So boost the high mid Q, boost the gain, find the frequency you want, just dip it back a bit. Let me stick that back to normal. Oh, she who must be obeyed. That's who Oh, I see. Her indoors. Yeah, we call that. We call them who indoors. Her indoors. Okay. Okay. Typo. She must be obeyed. Okay. Yeah. So hopefully you guys got something out of that. We're only 15 minutes in, and I've run out of things to talk about. That took a little bit less than I thought it would. So yeah, any questions you've got, bring them in. There was someone actually that asked a question about. Let me find it. I should have organised this myself. But, here we go. There was someone that asked a question about the Katana. Ah, yes. Okay. So someone else wanted to know about. Let me go here. So we've got effect level and direct mix. Okay. Just in case you don't know what direct mix is. Now it's really handy for certain effects inside the Katana, and it's really annoying for other effects inside the Katana. So things that it's not needed on is the booster. Now, if you've got something like an Ibanez Tube Screamer pedal, that lets through a little bit of clean signal. So if I switch on this booster circuit here, actually just hear the difference. If I what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take that EQ out with this overdriven frequency, and you'll really hear it clean up. Switch it back in. Okay, let me go back to the question in hand. So the direct mix is basically letting through clean signal. As I said, like an Ibanez Tube Screamer lets through just a tiny bit of clean signal. So with something like the booster circuit, if I turn up the direct mix, it's going to let through the clean signal. Okay, so now we've got the overdriven signal and also the clean guitar. Now, so personally, I would never use the direct mix on the booster. I don't think there's any need for it. But if you go to another effect, something like reverb. Now, if I take all the direct mix out of the reverb, well, let's play it first of all. Here's the sound with the reverb, with 100% direct mix. Now, if I take the direct mix out, it's 100% wet. So what we want to do with the Katana, or what I like to do with the Katana, is to have, with things like reverbs, delays, you have 100% direct mix, and then you use the amount of the effect that you want here with the effects level. So if I turn the effects level down, we've got no reverb. And then turn it up to get your reverb. But so as a rule, what I would tend to do is I wouldn't use the direct mix on the booster, but I'd use direct mix on reverbs and delays. So hopefully you guys got something out of that. Let's go back to questions. Evening, Happy Me. Keith Milner says, "Oh, just remembered when you were talking about using expression pedals and the FS6 with the Katana 100. I didn't realise that on the K50 you can use an FS6, but you can't program it with BTS. Oh, interesting. Okay, I didn't realise that. Yeah, I've never used a 50-watt one actually, so I haven't tried that. Keith Miller also says apparently it's hard configured to patch and bank. Okay, well that's handy. That is handy. Yeah, another reason to get the 100 over the 50. Definitely. I mean, if anyone's thinking about getting a Katana, and you've got the choice of just spending a little bit more on getting the 100-watt version, do it, because you can do so much more with it. And I think the Artist, you can do even more with that. And the 2x12, I think you can do a little bit more because you've got some switches on it and on the head as well, which is what I'm using. You can do some extra stuff with that. let's have a look. Okay, Scooby Stap says, I notice you use the pan delay mostly in your presets, which is a stereo delay. Can you use it as a mono, or is it better to use, say, the SD3000 or analog instead? Yeah. Okay, I'll explain that. Let's go back to the Katana and want to do that. Okay. Let me bring the effect, the reverb level back a bit, and let's go to the delays. Okay, the reason why I'm using the pan delay is because I've got the Katana plugged into USB. Okay, so I can utilize the full effects inside the Katana. Now, if I turn up the effects level, you'll really hear the pan delay, the big stereo delay. So if you're listening on headphones, or if you've got a stereo phone or stereo computer, you'll hear the delays bouncing from speaker to speaker. Okay. So I don't know why Boss do this, but they call that pan delay. Now, if I switch to stereo delay, which to me would be on all other sort of delays, you'd get some sort of stereo width from the delay. On the Katana, this is what happens. So you get the guitar over one side, and then you get your delays over the other side. Okay. Now, all of the rest of the delays are mono. So for instance, if I choose the analog delay, that delays straight down the middle. So yeah, I would, if you want a mono delay, you've got to use tape echo, analog, the reverse, I think, is mono. Yeah. I don't understand the reverse one. I don't know why anyone would use that. The modulated, I think, is mono as well. And the SDE 3000 is mono as well. Now it's a shame, because it would have been nice just to have that with a bit of stereo sort of movement in it. But no, if you really want to get like a nice sort of ping pong delay, you have to go to pan, and all the rest are mono. If you want a mono delay, I mean, so if you're using the Katana, that will then fold down to mono. If you're using USB out, or if you've got the Katana in a stereo mode where you're using two Katanas, that will be stereo. Hopefully that explains stuff. Let's go back. Okay, Martino Pinto says, hi Paul, I used the Katana Live and the other guitar player, a Blues Junior. My Katana could keep up great, but sounded a little bit fizzy on the trebles. You state this often too. Okay, yeah, depends on what sort of patches you're using. I mean, personally, I've said this before. I like to use the clean sound on the Katana. Let me show you. Is the booster off? Let's turn the booster off. Let me bring the delays back a bit. Okay. Now, the clean sound on the Katana, if you are using sort of more gain sounds, you want to drive it a little bit, the clean channel does crank up quite nicely. So if I take that to 100, and I'm using sort of fairly low output pickups on this, so it's not going to crank up like if you plugged a humbucker in like a Les Paul or something. But so what I like to do from there, if you go to your booster, if I'm using drives, I'd use the clean channel and then add some drives to get my distortion channel. I don't really think the lead and the brown are as good as a clean channel with added effects, and I'll show you what I mean. If I just add in this blues drive, I'm going to turn it down a bit. There we go. See, it lets through all of the right frequencies for me. The clean channel with added boosts. It sounds more like a Fender amp with pedals put in front of it. Now, if I turn the booster off and I go to say the lead or the brown channel, now you've lost quite a lot there. You've lost a lot of the body of the guitar. So you could bring up the bass a little bit. Let's make everything flat. But it's still got that fizzy edge to it. Now if I go to the brown sound, again it's still got that fizzy top end. Now you can change the variation on that, which is definitely worth trying. On the brown sound it makes it more fizzy. If I go back to the lead, doesn't sound great to me. But if I go to the clean channel, now where I was with the variation button off, have a listen how it changes. So that's with the variation button off. If I turn it on, right now it starts to drive. If I turn it off, so that sounds like a scooped Fender, and this one is a bit more sort of mid-focused. A bit more Marshall if you want. Bring the volume back and turn the booster on now. And if I wind back the tone a little bit, you get a great tone, or what I think is a great tone anyway. Let me go back. Now where are we? So Martina Pinto says, so like you said, I'll try using the compressor on the Katana and the clean channel with overdrives. Yeah, now when you bring in the compressor, that's a really good point. We go to the mod section here, which has got the compressor on it. So that's with the compressor off. Now the compressor is great as well because, let me switch it to the light setting. Because you've also got tone control, so you can notch that back a couple of numbers. And if I bring in the booster now, hopefully that helped. Let's have a look. Where are we? Okay, so Martina Pinto says, do you think that it's better off to use... okay, no, hold on, where are we? Yes, okay, so he said, do you think it's better to use a digital blues driver to the distortion as you do in your patches, or an analog TS? Now, what he means by analog TS, he means a tube screamer. Okay, well, let's try that. So, now, effects pedals really affect what amp you're driving it into. So, let's leave it on the clean setting. I mean, that's a really usable sound as it is. Now, if I bring in a real tube screamer, an actual pedal, it's on this one. That sounds like that. Now, if I bring in the tube screamer on the Katana, take that bottom off. And the difference, the real one. So, yeah, the EQ is going to be slightly different, but let me get rid of that noise. There we go. The EQ is different on both pedals, but the real pedal, you know, there is a difference of using a real pedal and using like a model, which is in the Katana. It's a subtle thing, but it feels better as well. It feels more responsive. I think if you can use you know, real pedals use it. Let's go back. Where are we? Yes, hopefully that helped. Ryan Pross says, I found that the Univibe mod on the Katana leaves a lot to be desired. We had someone that said this last week. I think the Univibe in the Katana is brilliant. Any tips on getting a nice Robin Travis vibe sound? Yes, I think I know where you're going wrong on this, Ryan. Okay, let's get a sound going. Bring the treble back a little bit. Okay. Now, this might be slightly heavier than like a Robin Trower sort of sound. Let's bring the drive back just a little bit. Let's go to the effects slot and let's choose the Univibe, which is there. Okay. Now, it all depends where you put the Univibe. Okay, so you can put it, if you go to your chain, you can change the point of where it is. So the chain I'm in at the moment, the Univibe is coming before the amplifier. So you've got your pedals before the actual amp. Think of it like a pedal board. You've got all your pedals and it's plugged into the amplifier. And it sounds like this. Switch it on. Okay. Now, if I go back to my chain, and let's put that pedal now after the amplifier. It completely changes the sound. So let's go back to just before. And let me just bring back the depth a bit. So I think the Univibe's really good on the Katana. I mean, you know, if you don't like it, possibly think about... Actually, did you guys... Oh, I did it again, didn't I? I didn't show you guys what was going on. Let me go back. Let me go back to that. So, sorry. Okay. We've got our effects slot. We've got the Univibe in there. If I go to my chain, I can choose whereabouts I want the Univibe in the circuit. So this is before the amplifier. Sounds like this. Or after the amplifier by choosing chain 2. I would suspect you've got it set to chain 2. Just switch it back to chain 3 on the Boss Tone Studio and I think you'll be fine. Sorry guys, I missed out the little Katana Tone Studio then. Where are we? D. Katzberg says, any suggestion for a good matching cab for a Katana head? Well, they do a Katana cab. I think it's is it a 2x12 cab? Yeah. I mean, that's the one that's going to be matched to the Katana. If you want to get something that's a bit different, what would I get? Some of those the Zilla cabs are really good if you're based in the UK. I don't know if you get them in the US, but Zilla cabs are really good. Victory cabs, I really like those. But I think if you've got a Katana, just try out the Boss Katana cab. I think you'll like that. Graham Hayes says, is a stereo 2x12 better than a stereo than a separate 1x12 cabs? Okay, so some 2x12 cabs are stereo. They've got two inputs, got left and right input. Now, fantastic. If you just want to carry around one cab and you want to get a bit more of a stereo spread, they're great. I used to use a stereo 2x12, Marshall 2x12 cab. Sounded great. Now, the thing you can't do is to move it further apart. So if you've got two 1x12 cabs, you're going to lose some of the sound because it's a bigger enclosure. You're going to get more bass response. But with with two 1x12 cabs, you can move them further apart because you can have them wherever you want, and then you're going to get a much wider stereo spread. So it depends what you're after. I'd definitely try out both. Personally, what would I choose? I'd probably choose a stereo 2x12 because it's easy to carry around. Yeah, and it isn't a problem if it's not. You said not exclusively Katana related. It isn't just about Katana questions. Whatever questions you've got, happy to give as best knowledge as I can. Guitariful Dexter says, "Hi, how would you get a good Eric Johnson tone?" Now you're asking on the fly. Well, with a fuzz. So let's go back to James is probably the expert for the Eric Johnson tone because that's his sort of thing. But let me go back to the Tone Studio. Okay, so Eric Johnson famously uses fuzz pedals. So let's try I would say probably the muff fuzz. Bring the tone up a little bit. And let's switch that in. Let's bring the tone up even more. It's not going to be exact. I could probably do with a bit more treble on the actual amp as well. Try that. I'm sure James could get a lot closer to that, but just as a quick demonstration, just go through the different fuzz settings and just try some of them out. Where are we? Okay, Lee Wills says, "Greetings from Worthing." Hey Lee, how you doing? Just down the road. Scooby Stap, thanks for explaining the delay support. Don't use reverse delay either. Yeah, it's I guess it's useful for certain things, maybe for some sort of effects and stuff, but yeah, I'd never use it. James at Location Recording says, "Is the master EQ parametric or graphic? When would you use one over the other?" See, I wouldn't ever use a parametric. I would never use a graphic EQ because you're only restricted to those bands. Actually, the only graphic EQ that I do use is the Boss G7 little Boss compact pedal that I use. That's really good actually. James has got one of them as well. Scooby Stap says, "You taught me so much with using my Katana in the clean mode and using boosters. My favourite is the modded Marshall you did. A Friedman BOD right into the Katana. Awesome. Nice one. Yeah. Nice." Scooby Stap says, "D. Katzberg, I'm using a 2x12 with Celestion Vintage 30s and a Creamback 65. It sounds great." Yeah, it's nice. It is nice to mix up your speakers. If you've got a stereo, if you've got a 2x12 cab, have different speakers in them, and then it opens up the sound even more. James Holloway says, "Hi, do you know if it's possible to get a sort of cocked wah pedal effect in Tone Studio? As I'm trying to get a Michael Schenker tone, but really struggling." Yeah, sure. Yeah. Let's go back to Tone Studio and I'll show you how to do that. I've never done it, but we're gonna give it a go. Here we go. Okay, let's switch the fuzz back to let's go to the blues drive. It's a bit bright now, isn't it? Let's bring that back. Okay, if you go to your pedal effects, now this is where you can switch on the wah effects. Now you've got a load of different wahs that you can choose from. You've got Crybaby wah, Vox wah, Fat wah, Light wah, 7-string wah, and Rezo wah. Okay, just stick with the Crybaby at the moment because it's the one that most people use. Okay, So now if I turn on the pedal effects, that's turned on the wah. Now we've got to find the right pedal position that you want. So you can use this control here. If I just play a chord and sweep back. There is your cocked wah. Let's turn that off. I never use a cocked wah for some reason. Martino Pinto says, thank you very much for the demonstration. One last question. Is Katana applying a cab sim when going USB out, right, and or headphones out? So yes, you can turn it off. You can turn it off, but yes, I think as default it's cab sim out. I can show you how to change that actually. Let me just go back into the Katana. Okay, if we go to system and USB setting. No, it's not USB setting. It is line out setting. Okay, it's the same for the USB. We can choose record out, which sounds like this, which is the cab sim. I can choose live, which is it's still got a bit of a sort of sim on it, or you can choose the blend, which is a blend of the two. But to me, the best one is record out. Sort of opens it all out. Where are we? Joseph Valdez says, which Katana amp model would make a good platform for Steve Vai Passion and Warfare? Carvin Legacy type tone. I'm guessing the crunch channel. Yeah, let's have a look. I mean, I'm using the wrong guitar for this. Maybe I'll go and get a different guitar. But if you can suffer it with a Strat style guitar, let's have a look. Let's go back to the Katana. Let's try the crunch. Got way too much gain there. I think I would use the crunch channel with a booster, but let's take the booster off and let's try the lead channel. There, I think that's probably the closest you're going to get. Yes, use the lead channel, bring back the treble and just turn up the middle a bit as well, just to get some sort of mid frequencies in there, and I think that sort of gets you that sort of close to that sort of Steve Vai carving sort of tone. Let's do that. Okay. Bruce Brooks says Katana cab is only for the head version, 1x2 and 2x12 combos. Don't have external speaker jacks. Yes, I think he was talking about the head version, Bruce. But thanks. Yeah, good point. Lee Will says, hi Paul, is it worth replacing the Katana speaker with a more expensive one? So James and I both did this. We did a video on this. I changed mine out for a redback, a Celestion redback, which is like a really sort of high output. Think of like an Ivey sort of speaker. It's what Celestion's version of those sort of high output, really sort of high headroom speakers, and it sounded great. I think the Katana speaker sounds great. Would you? Yes, you would notice a difference. My favourite speaker is like a creamback. So if you put a creamback in there, it definitely smooths out the frequencies a bit. So yeah, well, it's worth experimenting with. Jason Nicholas Hughes says, have you ever tried using the Katana with the HX effects, using the Katana as clean amp and the HX for gain, boost, effects and channel switching? I haven't tried that. Yeah, be interesting to see if that works well. Next one says, "Hey Paul, would you get a more Fenderish twin reverb sound?" So just explain what you mean there. Oh, how would you get a more Fenderish? Okay, go to choose. Let's go back to the Katana. Let's bring back the gain just a little bit. Let's go to the clean setting. Okay. So if you want that sort of scooped clean sound, don't use a variation button. So turn the variation button off. Let's put everything at 12 o'clock. Let me take the compressor off as well. So the variation button really makes a difference for that. If you want that sort of pristine, sort of clean, scooped Fender sound, turn the variation off. If you want more sort of mid-forward, turn the variation on. Personally, I prefer it with, I think it cuts through the mix a little bit more with variation on. Where are we? We're there. James Holloway says, also, which amp would you suggest for building the Schenker tone, which is most Marshall-esque? I think the crunch, I'd probably go for the crunch on that, and then just add some pedals to it. I'm not really a massive, I don't really know much about the Michael Schenker tone. So, but yes, it is a Marshall sort of tone, isn't it? Yeah, I'd go for the crunch channel. James said, location recordings. James says, let's do a Eric Johnson tone video like we did for Gary Moore. Yes, that's a good idea. Good idea, G. Yeah, next time you're over, we'll do that. D. Katzberg says, thanks very much, Paul and Scooby, on the advice for a cabinet for the Katana head. Keith Milner says, Rezo Wild Dogs, or would that be rats? Nice one. James Holloway, thank you. Anytime, mate. Ahoy from Montreal again, Paul. Victory says this. Where did you learn to play guitar? I love the effortless way in which you appear to play. God, I wish it was like that today. I don't feel it's effortless. I'm really struggling today. Okay, so I had a couple of really good teachers when I was growing up. I was obsessed. Me and James both talked about this on our live show that we do on a Wednesday. So yeah, I was lucky enough to even have some lessons from Guthrie Govan. So I mean, if you want to see someone play effortlessly, watch Guthrie, because he's just ridiculously good. But yeah, I mean, I was obsessed. I was just obsessed by guitar. So when I was about sort of 13, 14, I the guitar didn't really leave my side, and I messed up school because of it. But hey, it's all worked out all right. Victory says, by that I mean I know you're putting effort in, just doesn't look like it. Thanks, mate. There's probably a lot of editing on the videos that you get to see. Fred Rishi says a redback is a good choice. Yeah, I like the redbacks. The redbacks have a Celestion redbacks. They have a creamback sort of sound about them, so they're quite smooth. They're not spiky like an EV speaker, but you can get loads of headroom out of it. So if you've got like a really powerful guitar amp, I think they go up to about 150 watts, these speakers, for a single speaker. So you can really drive them. Ryan Pross says, had to walk away for a few minutes, but you're right about the Univibe. I've been on chain 2. Thanks. Anytime, mate. Oh, good. I'm glad that helped. Great Beyond, I see a number of questions about what the amps are and what Boss have actually tried to model in the amp section. I find myself asking these questions as well. Maybe a vid on that would be worthwhile. I mean, I wouldn't worry about it too much. I like that about Boss and about their products. That the fact that they don't say, they don't try and come up with some sort of cheesy way of explaining what amp it is, like, you know, like a lot of these manufacturers, like an orange amp would be, they'd call it a tangerine, and a Marshall, they might call it, I don't know, Sergeant or something. Do you see what I mean? And I like that about Fender. So I like that about Boss, the way that they don't, you know, they call it their own thing. I like that. James says, so Location Recordings, James says that he put 2 creambacks. Oh, sorry, James put 2 creamback Neos, which are the neodymium, in his Katana, which are nice actually, because the neodymium speakers are really light and they sound good. They sound good. They don't sound quite as good as a normal sort of full weight speaker, but they do sound really good. Creamback is 75 watts, says Fred. Fred also says Katana Mark II 100 is 100 watts creamback speaker, 75 watts. Is that okay? Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. I wouldn't worry about it. I think you, I mean, James and me, we talk about this quite a lot, about the power. If you get like a 100 watt Marshall amp and a 100 watt Katana, there'd be quite a difference in the amount of volume that would be coming out. The difference of volume that would come out like a 100 watt Marshall amp. So you'd be absolutely fine with a 75, I'm positive. Joseph Valdez, I use an Eminence Redcoat Governor single 12-inch custom cab, and the Katana sounds amazing through it. Very beefy and tight lows, mid-set cut through a live mix. Nice one, that's a good choice. Leslie Lee said, Paul, did you ever have the old Boss flagship GT5? No, never tried a GT5. My first one, what's the first one I ever had? ME5? I think that was the first effects unit I ever bought, which was, I think, one of Boss's early multi-effects. Built like a tank, actually. Great Beyond 1. Yeah, +1 for the Let's Get an Eric Johnson tone. Victor E said, I actually got to jam with Guthrie at the first Vi Academy in 2014. Oh, nice one. The thing about Guthrie, he's really brilliant because he never makes you feel less of a guitar player, even though he's just like, I mean, he's one of the best guitar players in the world. He never makes you feel like you are beneath him, even though, you know, everyone is, every mortal is. Yeah, he's a really nice bloke. Scooby Stapp says there are 2 creamback 65s and 75 watts. There we go. Bruce Brooks, the Great Beyond, technically speaking, the Katana is not an amp modeler. It is a Katana amp, just the effects are modelled. That's very true. It's supposed to sound like a Katana. And Chad Farwick says, follow up from last week's JFC video with the foot switch. Do you select effect and switch effects that way, or just switch to different patches for playing live? Depends what you want to do. So if you've got a particular sound, yeah, like, I mean, I would use both. So if I'm like using like an overdriven tone, and then I want to switch in like a lead tone, I'd switch in a boost on the booster channel. So I'd switch on the effects and then switch on the booster. And for different songs, you probably choose different patches. So yeah, both. Watts is not a good way of saying how loud a combo amp is. Yeah, very true. It's not. Katana Head has become my favourite practice amp. Portable size, small speaker included. Just wish it had Bluetooth and a mobile app, so I don't have to plug in a USB cable. Yeah, but you know, I think probably at some point, Boss are going to have to update, you know, come up with the Katana 3 at some point, and maybe that'll have all that on it. Island Sounds, when will we hear you dial in a John Sykes tone? God, I love that. That was it, 1987 Whitesnake album. For tones, that is just, what a tone, amazing. Yes, there's quite a lot of processing that goes into that John Sykes tone, and you probably need a lot more than a Boss Katana to really nail that, but you might be able to get close. I'll give it a go at some point. Right, I think we'll call it a day there, as we're sort of at the end of the questions. Yeah, let me know what you guys would like to see next week, if there's anything that I can help with, or James as well, if there's anything you'd like James to demonstrate or show. Maybe James can do one of these. We've got one more question in. Mike Cooper, not sure how you get Channel B on my Katana Artist Mark II. Just purchased it. Channel B? What do you mean by Channel B? If you look on the top of your Katana, you've got some switches. You've got like I forgot what they're called. Give me 2 seconds and I'll have a look. Mine's up here. Okay, they're called tone settings. So, I think I know what you're saying. Okay, so you've got the tone settings on the top, and you can switch between all those tone settings. Now, if you have a GAFC foot controller, you can also access four more tones. So I don't know if you can do it without the GAFC. Let's have a look. You can definitely do it on the Tone Studio app. Yes, you can. Oh no, you can't. No, I don't think you can. So you'd have to get a GAFC, and it's worth getting one. I said last week it's one of those things that well worth getting. Yes, I think Keith, I think he means Bank B. I think it's exactly what he means. Streaming's becoming choppy. I can't help it, I'm afraid. It's just internet's going down, so we're only restricted to what the internet is doing at the time. Blame it on, I don't know, Facebook. Okay, SD, are you using your new Blue Guitar stereo board mostly for recording or for live gigs? I did it as a bit of a trial, and I thought it would make a fun video. So I'm not sure whether I'm going to be using it live yet. I'm really sort of I'm going through a bit of a combo stage. I'm trying to find the right combo. James brought over, if James is still listening, James brought over his Marshall JCM 900, and I loved the sound of that JCM 900. So it's making me sort of feel, maybe I need just to go back to just the combos. But we'll see. I mean, you know, the Blue Guitar Amp ones are fantastic. I do use them in the studio. I think they're great, and also for doing these sort of tuition videos and demonstrational videos. They're really good. They're really good because they sound fantastic, and you've got like a whole bunch of sounds that you can use on it, and it's a real amp. We are getting some more questions in. Let me just answer a couple more. D. Katzberg, what's the difference with the artist? You get a different speaker, and I think you get a couple of different controls on the top. You get a better quality speaker. Again, you know, if you want to